We take one day off and all hell breaks loose, Bo?
The latest on Darius Robinson and Zay Jones suspended for 5 games. We're breaking it all down, PHNX Cardinals. Let's go.
Hey, welcome in live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. This show presented by our friends at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app today. Use that bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why. It's never ordinary to Bet365. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always, the returning Brack live in Studio K. Of course, producer extraordinaire, Damon, Dawg, Mr. Hold the Line himself, behind the mic. You know, we thought we'd be doing a nice little casual Friday show ahead of the Broncos preseason finale. No. We were off yesterday, and some news broke, unfortunately, Brack, that has bled into today. What can you tell us about Darius Robinson?
Well, look, I mean, it's 2 players that we're going to talk about primarily today outside of the final preseason game that were expected to have huge roles for the Cardinals. And it mentioned D-Rob with the latest on his injury. And then, of course, you've got Zay Jones, who's got a 5-game suspension for an incident that happened back last November. Was thrown out of courts in March. But as far as D-Rob's concerned, got to the Arizona Cardinals facility this morning, got to hear it from Jonathan Gannon straight from his mouth. Just giving us an update on D-Rob. So, you know, we'll get into it as soon as we have Gannon locked and loaded as far as his comments on his first-year player that's expected to play a versatile role in this defensive line. It's scary to hear that, you know, Robinson's staring down an injury on a defensive front 7 that really couldn't sustain to lose much of any other of their players, especially a guy that has huge expectations like the 27th overall pick.
Yeah, people in the chat, Ozzy, JG wasn't happy. K2 JG was pissed. I think before we even jump into the conversation surrounding, you know, Darius Robinson, his potential, I hope, temporary absence, not permanent absence. You know, yesterday, respectfully, that's why I love this community, getting DMs, getting, you know, notifications, what's going on. And this show opted to just kind of wait to hear from Jonathan Gannon. Bo, you were at practice yesterday, and I'll let you kind of walk everybody through kind of what the structure of practice is. And then we didn't have a show yesterday.
Yeah, we didn't have a show. It was a scheduled off day for us because we were going to be firing up the mics and the cameras on Sunday. Give you a nice little preseason finale show, halftime and post game. So we were just taking a Thursday off. Still went to practice as I always do, and covering things. And things change, right? I mean, throughout training camp, especially during the open to the public practices, anything that happens on the practice field, fully you can report. Those are called open practices. Things tighten up when the crowds go away. And you're usually allotted anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes, which is called open, portion of practice. And then there's close, which, it's non-negotiable. You can't report anything that happens or anything that you might observe during the time. You could still be out there, but, you shouldn't tell a peep, that wasn't there along with you. So as far as just how I operate, during the closed portion of practice, just don't report anything from it. That's just a bit separate from, what we're kind of discussing now. But, there's reports out there yesterday that came from the practice field, and people caught wind that something happened to Darius. And then this morning, Jonathan Gannon was asked about it. Damon, Dawg, if you would, here's JG's reaction in response.
Yeah. Reports that came out that happened in the closed portion of practice. So I'm not real fired up about that, guys. the guys that were there that didn't report on it, thank you to adhering to our policy. He's getting imaging today. He's got a calf.
So getting some imaging done. I don't know when. He didn't specify today. He's going to have his calf looked at. I think when you hear a player of importance that's going to play a big role has suffered an injury, like you think the worst, right? I mean, the same thing happened. It happened with BJ Ojulari. Like you dodged a bullet early in training camp with your starting center, and yelled to Froholt. He jokes, "Hey, I got strong ligaments," and unfortunately, a second-year pass rusher suffers and sustains a serious ACL injury or just knee injury. We don't know if it's ACL or which ligament, but is sidelined for the entire season. So you're waiting with bated breath to figure out, what's next for a key player for the Cardinals that they view as a building block. Like we talked to Brian Baldinger, and he's like, they're building this thing brick by brick, and Darius is one of those bricks.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like, respectfully, there was stuff put out on Twitter yesterday, and those people can do what they want to do. And then this podcast is going to operate differently today. And I think anytime that you're speculating an injury before you hear from the source himself, Darius, the trainer, and then through an extension of the head coach or the GM, like it's tough, man. And we had heard about it, through the tea leaves yesterday. And you at the end of the day, you're a fan at heart, and you're hoping he's going to be okay. It's, there are times where, we'd like to come on this show and break news, and we want to be first. And then there are times that, I'd heard about yesterday. I was just sick to my stomach. I just didn't, just at no point was my reaction to just like, let's get news out there. And if that's what people look for this podcast, that's unfortunate. And I don't think they do. If there's a free agent signing we get wind of, or there's a trade on the horizon, like absolutely, but right. Darius's health was the priority yesterday,
right,
and into today. And the good news is, I've heard some things, and Josh Weinfuss has heard some things. Bo, you've heard some things where like sounds like they avoided like worst case scenario with Darius. Like I don't want to speculate again, like right. how long he's going to be out and surgeries or anything like that. But from I'll just say this, from what I've heard, thumbs up. I think they're hopeful. So I think you plan on taking it with the utmost caution, like they did with Kyler Murray last year. They showed last year, like, I'm not going to rush anybody back. Darius is a rookie. He's 23, 24 years old. I think he's only 23. He's part of their long-term plan. So I think like if you can get by for the first couple weeks of the regular season without Darius, you do that. And the Arizona Cardinals, unlike the pass rushing group with BJ Ojulari, and I know that Ojulari and was going to have some of his weight carried by Robinson. He was going to kick out maybe on occasion. Yeah. You have two free agent signings in Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones. You have Dante Stills. You have LJ Collier. You've got, of course, Damon's boy, Roy Lopez. You've got 5 guys that, like, if you got to make it 3 or 4 weeks, which I'm hopeful that's all it will be, you should be able to get through it. Like, would you love to have Darius Robinson against Buffalo? Of course. And against the Lions offensive line. But like, you ought to be able to beat Washington without him. And then you need to win one of those other 3 games. So I thought yesterday, based on kind of what we were speculating, it was worst case scenario. And now feel good about, the potential. We're hopeful that it's minimal.
Right. No, look, when you look at the depth, taking a guy out like D-Rob potentially out of the equation, it takes your margin. It just makes your margin for error almost non-existent, right? Like Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols have to be the guys that they were signed to be, and guys like Stills and Roy Lopez going into the second season under Gannon and Rawlis, like they needed to take a jump, and those were things that needed to happen anyway. But now, like, going into Buffalo week 1 and going into coming home and taking on the Los Angeles Rams, even though, their offensive line is completely deteriorated throughout the last couple of weeks. You still need, with the way they like to run the football, between the Rams and the Lions weeks 2 and 3, you need a defensive line. But, after Gannon relayed the information, revealed what was actually going on, our great, beat reporter, Craig Morgan, just kind of looked into, calf injuries, and there's a couple different types, right? There's the grade 1, there's grade 2, there's grade 3. And, the grade 1, I'll just read it, the muscle stretch causing some small micro tears in the muscle fibers. Recovery takes approximately 2 to 4 weeks if you do all the right things. A grade 2 is a partial tear. The muscle fibers, full recovery can take approximately 4 to 8 weeks in a good rehab. And then grade 3 is the most severe calf strain, which is complete tear, rupture of muscle fibers in the lower leg. Full recovery can take 3 to 4 months. And in some instances, surgery may be needed. So that's what you're staring down. And to try to figure out, which one it is, like, I think you should just pause and wait until you hear word, potentially the next time we hear from Gannon, probably not in a post-game press conference situation like the finale on Sunday, but maybe after that you'll get some more insight about what they learned today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to harken back to the reporting thing, there's some gray area, as I mentioned, with like signings, trades, stuff that you catch wind of, but then there's black and white. There's, closed practice, open practice. If it's closed, you can't do anything. If something happens, you can't follow up on it because you can't report on that. So it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the number one thing is looking out for Darius and making sure, and you could tell today that was a coach protecting his player and making sure that when it comes to injuries, the team, and I don't always agree with the team driving a narrative, like they drive the narrative on an injury because it's their people, it's their employees, it's their this is a family to JG, and you don't ever want it out there, especially with a kid who's 23 years old that's on the cusp of, I mean, he's had a tremendous camp. He's a tremendous human being. We've had him on this show, and again, like, we're crossing our fingers, reading the tea leaves. It sounds like they avoided like a catastrophe, but you want to let things play out. But you also just, it's kind of the good and bad. We live in this Twitter age where, everybody wants to be first, or you want to be able to say, hey, that's associated with my brand or the company I work for. And I'm guilty of that. You've been guilty of that. Everybody has in one way, shape, or form. But, this was a situation which, yesterday was about the person Darius Robinson. And so thumbs up that hopefully, and again, like, I have no problem, Bo, quoting Josh Weinfuss, who's a friend of this program, works for ESPN, saying that he says a source told him that it's hopefully going to be okay. So I'm just comfortable rolling with that this time.
For sure. So that would you just look at the different, it's probably a grade 1 or grade 2.
Right. Between one of those two. So, I mean, conservatively, again, I hate doing this because guys can heal fast. Guys can be freaks in nature, or you could take a little bit more time. I mean, like I read this morning, Ricky Pearsall, the Niners thought he'd be okay. He had some shoulder stuff in the offseason dating back to Florida. And guess what? His shoulder's not okay. It's just like shit happens, man. But here's the biggest thing right now. If we don't think that this team is in a position to trade for a pass rusher because that doesn't fit their timeline, do you think it fits their timeline to rush back a 23-year-old that has his whole future ahead of him? Like, they're not going to do that either. So, that's a different conversation entirely, but we will see Darius. I'm confident we'll see Darius this year. Confident we'll see him before, hopefully, the bye, and he will play meaningful football for the Cardinals.
Interesting to see if he does a stint on IR or not. I mean, that's going to be
how many games is that?
It's at minimum 4. So
I would probably say now, I probably think they conservatively maybe put him on. I'm just guessing. I don't know anything.
It felt like Buddha revealed this past offseason that his hamstring was torn off the bone. So he went on with the hamstring for 4 weeks. James Conner went on the IR for 4 weeks. So it does seem like they do err on the extreme side of caution and make sure that their guys are good to go and come back once ready. So and then like once that happens, once they are designated return, then they got like that 21-day window, which they could be activated, the next day, the earliest. So,
I mean, like just seeing the caution they had last year with Kyler and some of the other players, I'm sure they love the depth that they've built on the defensive tackle group too. Like it's not Ojulari with, the cupboard respectfully nearly bare. And again, that injury happened in a public practice, in Glendale, and there was a reason why that was reported right away, how it was. I mean, it's just different circumstances, but
sure.
Yeah, so that was the last 24 to 36 hours. And then within the last 6 hours, Zay Jones, wide receiver 4 for the Arizona Cardinals, don't get it twisted, despite what the national media will tell you, is now suspended right now, pending a pushback from Zay and his people. He's going to miss the first 5 games with what's being called a personal conduct policy violation. Bo, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, and what Pelissaro kind of shed some light that this was a case that was from, I think, last year, that the Florida State Attorney's Office dropped a misdemeanor domestic battery charge against Jones. When he was on the Jags. But then the NFL, as they always do, they ran their own investigation, which is standard, and they returned this 5-game suspension. So Arizona Cardinals 3-position, number 1 depth piece is, I don't know. Like usually, like these insiders like Pelissaro, Rap Sheet, Garofolo usually provide if they're going to appeal. And I haven't seen anything as far as Zay trying to appeal, or if even I'm sure he has the option, or if he's just going to wear it and take the 5-game suspension. And then he also brings up the question. This is just, thinking out loud. What did the organization know? And this is just my take on it.
Yeah.
Is, I'm sure they're very aware, just like the Jaguars were aware that the incident happened, that the Florida State Attorney's Office dropped it and felt maybe confident that there wouldn't be a suspension. And if they did, it'd be minimal. But this seems like this was, on the higher side than I think anybody maybe anticipated.
People are asking, can he appeal? I would assume so. But the Cardinals, to your point, had to have known that something like this was a possibility. And I think I echo the comments from the chat. The people nationally that are making, I don't want to say it's not a big deal, and maybe Zay himself knew that something like this was coming, but this should not impact the Cardinals significantly. Like, we're talking about 2 position groups that took a hit today, and Darius is easily the bigger temporary loss. Right. There's 2 of the deeper position units on the team, especially wide receiver, and the way the Cardinals want to run their offense. Like, I watched them win games with Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, and about nothing else at receiver last year. And now you've added somebody by the caliber of Marvin Harrison Jr. You still got, I think Chris Moore can fill that role. I don't love Zach Pascal, but he definitely makes the team now. Xavier Weaver, does this give him life? Like, just some interesting dynamics now.
That's the dominoes I think that you start to examine here. Like I think that, in the case of suspensions, like we witnessed this with D-Hop when he had the PED violation in 2022. Like, you can't become the facility. So it takes him out of the room until a certain, like, closer to when the suspension is up.
Does he impact your 53-man roster, or is he exempt from the 53-man roster?
I think as soon as like the roster's set, I think his suspension goes into play.
So do you have to play with 52, or can you?
No, I think you get a roster spot.
Okay. Well, then I think you put him off to the side and you let one of these rookies run with that role, or run with that extra spot. Like, if I'm Palmer, if I'm Xavier Weaver, I have new life come this weekend. But the Cardinals with Elijah Higgins, Trey McBride at tight end, now Tip Ryman. I mean, they go 3 deep at tight end. We know they want to run the football, and then the receiving core that you have. I mean, it is at the end of the day it's a shot because Zay's had a tremendous, just like Darius. Zay's had a tremendous training camp, and super nice guy. When we've chatted with him, this whole thing is not good, right? It's. I mean, when you read the report, it is not becoming to Zay, but the charges were not pursued or they were dropped, but the NFL still said we're going to do an investigation, and they should, and this is what they came up with. So here's what I'm going to say: it's unfortunate for Zay, and if I were Zay, I would probably just say, you know what, I'm going to ride this out, and I'll be back. And if Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort,
it's the NFL's investigation,
right?
I'm sure. I think the chances that you appeal and you win, and you're appealing through your players association, but to the league, in the league that had it conducted its own investigation, it's probably just wasting everybody's time.
And I think anytime you talk about, and again, you're innocent until proven guilty, but it was, putting hands on, what was it, the mother of his child? Is that what it was? Like, that's tough. It's hard to even discuss. And so if Gannon and Ossenfort felt comfortable bringing him into their locker room, and he's been by all counts a model teammate, I think you do your time, you come back, remain humble, and you try to help this team win come week 6. But
everything that we've seen from Zay Jones shows somebody that is humble and approaching.
I would never have thought this before it came out.
Right.
Which again, you don't know everybody, but from a football standpoint, if we can keep the focus on that, I think the top 3 receivers are all poised for monster years. Your tight end is a top 3 to 5 tight end. Your quarterback looks flipping unbelievable. I mean, that was lost in yesterday's unfortunate situation. Kyler Murray, you told me off air, had a tremendous practice, and Kyler Murray looks awesome. So I think they've got so much good stuff going on right now. This is not what they need. No team needs this. What was it, 10 days or not 10 days, about 2.5 weeks before the opener, a little bit less than that. But it is not, in my opinion, going to impact, unless Darius misses significant time, going to impact what I think this team can do this year.
Yeah. Look, and you mentioned Chris Moore saw him in the joint practice make a big play down the sideline. Is he a different? Yeah. Is he a 3-position guy? No, but he can play a role. When your top 3 guys, I think, are gonna there's not gonna be much left on that plate after those guys play a full game together, right? If Kyler Murray is able to get them all involved, and Trey McBride and James Conner, those depth pieces, hopefully you won't have to lean on them for the 5 weeks.
And you just hit the nail on the head. I think Zay Jones is insurance if Michael Wilson or Greg Dortch or Marvin goes down. As long as those 3 guys are healthy, knock on the biggest piece of wood you got.
Zay Jones, beautiful handcrafted desk in front of me. Yeah,
I'm gonna mahogany, right? He is. We said this at the time when they signed him. He is insurance. Well, now you need insurance for the insurance the first 5 weeks of the season.
So we did a breakdown, a 50-minute 3-man roster prediction that we'll unveil tomorrow on the YouTube channel. You, me, and Craig. We talked about this wide receiver room, and you thought maybe they go 5 wide receivers. Traditionally you take 6. So if Zay doesn't start the season on the, obviously he's not going to be active, you got that spot. I think that belongs. So it would be your big 3. Now Chris Moore, Zach Pascal, and then you're looking at Xavier Weaver, in my opinion. I think that creates a spot for the undrafted rookie free agent out of Colorado. You push him back for your man Dan?
I wouldn't have an issue with either. But I think if you're talking about upside, I think they would rather go with the kid that they found that had a lot of cachet coming out of college.
Do you go T-Palms? Do you go Tayshaun Palmer?
Yeah, and I don't want to be disrespectful to T-Palms. I think T-Palms is in a tough spot because his versatility is not what Xavier Weaver's is. Like Xavier Weaver looks good catching the football and returning kicks. So I would be more, and people assume that he was more polished coming out of Colorado, and he has been. I would go Xavier Weaver at this point. I think could he be this year's Amari Dermacado, where you're like, okay, every year they're going to get a couple guys undrafted where they can come in and make an impact and see what happens. So, but it's Zach Pascal definitely makes the team now. If he hadn't already, he was a little bit of a bubble guy, but yeah, we'll see who can play teams.
I don't think he was that much of a bubble guy.
Okay.
I could still be proven wrong. I just don't. I think that his role with this team is pretty well established.
Yeah.
And, it's in the run game as their best blocking wide receiver on teams, and also what he provides in the locker room as far as leadership, being a veteran voice in that room. And now you got one of your vets that's not going to be with the team for 5 weeks. And Pascal is going to be there for him. I do appreciate everybody offering their calves or their calf to Darius Robinson. Like that, that's selfless. That's team first approach. And I'm really thankful for this chat out there for everybody that put their calf as tribute.
It's winning behavior.
It would take all of our calves combined to equal Darius's calf. Darius is gonna be
that would be kind of funny if they just take Johnny's little itty bitty calf muscle. But I've seen you actually got some pretty big calves. You get some like
saying that
Cornish game hens in your calves.
My wife always likes to make fun of my lower body. They see because when I lift, it's all cosmetic. None of it's functional. It doesn't do anything for me. It's not for baling hay or whatever. Like it's just literally just like, what can I do to accentuate when I wear a t-shirt, right? And I always tell her, I joke like, she goes, "You never lift lower body." And I said, "You know what? Cardio is lower body." And she's like, "It's not." And then I put my leg next to, a professional athlete. I remember we used to do the show with Frank Sanders, and his lower body would just be one of me. So yeah. But I appreciate, the kudos today. We need some humor, levity.
Yeah.
We got a
Your
game.
Little chicken cutlet calf. It's not going to get the job done, unfortunately.
I want to jump into these super chats before we we go to break here. Greg, 199. Dial up the Kime Time special. Get Reddick today. Don't hate that, Greg. 199. The fan base collectively, it's like, oh Jesus. Jets, what about this first round pick next year? What do you think? I think Monti Ossenfort, hopefully, please God, will make a move before the end of the day Tuesday. But I also feel like Monti Ossenfort is going to have to bear the brunt of this is part of our rebuilding timeline, and losing Darius now temporarily after losing BJ Ojulari, maybe that only emphasizes that. I texted somebody that last night. I'm like, do you think if this Darius injury is worst case scenario, I don't think they'll make a move because I think it further emphasizes that they're not a player away. And I got pushback on that. So maybe they will make a move.
He'll confidently wear it if he does. Like he's not going to be swayed by, the angry mob that feels like, and there's a big need on the defensive front. Still, was before D-Rob's injury and continues to be. But he's not going to have anything kind of sway him a different direction for this rebuild. Our guy, how about Doc XD? Using the frustration of injuries to fuel my workout. All right, there you go. Whatever motivation you need. Johnny revealed his to look good in his t-shirts, his PHNX locker tees, and then you're just probably in the lab trying to be the healthiest possible, best version of yourself.
You know what? At the end of the day, we love the grind, Doc XD, and hope to see you in the weight room one day, my friend. PR Mac, $5 super chat.
On the bench.
Pass rush has to show up this season. Fans are not going to accept injury excuses. Teams will attack the weaknesses. Season ticket holders need to speak. I agree with a lot of that. Here's what I will say, PR Mac. I think they did enough, in my opinion, to be able to survive a temporary Darius Robinson absence. I respect their moves. I think they were smart. They hit on a late round pick last year, defensive tackle. They flushed the position group. We asked them to do that, and they followed through with that. The defensive tackle group is substantially better. The edge rushing group is an eyesore, in my opinion, and I don't think they were proactive enough to help themselves. Now, I could be wrong, but that, I mean, when you're watching the Bears trade for pass rush help and the Falcons, two teams that you could potentially be competing for a playoff spot against, like that, Cardinal fans don't love that. So I'm with you. Like, optics are at some point, like, help the team for this year.
Yeah.
Help this group right now that has put forth a very nice camp. They're competing. The offense looks like a complete. The offense to me is going to be a top 10 unit. It's going to be a juggernaut. It's going to have to carry this team. But when it's 3rd down and 9 and you desperately need a stop, see if there's somebody that fits that bill that can help this team. I think there are. I think there are a couple of different guys. But will Monti Ossenfort pull the trigger? That's the question, Bo.
I mean, if you don't think it galvanizes a fan base, just look at the Bears pulling off a trade today. It woke our guy Greg Braggs Jr. up out of anesthesia. Like he was going under a knife, and he probably couldn't get away from his phone. It buzzed, and hey, the Bears are making a move, and he's pumped. He's fired up about it.
Back from anesthesia nap. Some say we wouldn't do that. I'm saying we would do it. I would do it.
Come on.
No doubt in my mind we would do it. Those are the kind of things we want to do emergency podcasts for. We're going to preview this Sunday's game. We're going to talk a little bit more about Tune versus Ridder, because that was reported in the depth of all this other news. But before you do that, I want to talk to you about our friends, my close friend, Coach Stark's Bo at Coach Stark Homes. Again, Chris Stark, the president of Coach Stark Homes with West USA Realty. And again, if you didn't know, what's that?
It's our friend.
He's our friend.
Yeah. One of us, there's 3 of us on the show. Only one of us has actually bought a home with this man. And it's a nice home, if I do say so myself, here in the East Valley. If you don't know Coach Starks, high school basketball coach, varsity educator, 20 plus years. He's embedded in this community. Best of the West, 3 years in a row, 2020, 2021, 2022. He's an avid listener of PHNX Cardinals and PHNX Sun Devils. He's a graduate of ASU, and he's a massive Cardinal fan. He saw the show, knew I was in the market for a home, reached out, and then proceeded to kick ass and take names for the Venerable family, and he can do the same for you. He's worked with clients from Buckeye to Maricopa to Tucson. It's going to help you find the right home for you here in Arizona. And plus, right now, this is a perfect time, right? I was in the slums in March when the interest rates were plus, 7.5. Right now, the interest rates, they're the lowest they've been since 2023. If you're thinking about buying your first home or upgrading, now is the time to strike with Coach Starks. He's got a team of professionals ready to come calling at your beacon. If you're in the market for a home, get a hold of Coach Stark today. He's going to help you out. Get in touch with him at 623-695-3929 or go to CoachStarksHomes.com. Follow him on all socials at Coach Stark Homes. He's always got great stuff on his Instagram page. Call Chris. Tell him you heard about it and us through PHNX Cardinals, and he's going to donate $1,200 of his commission to your closing costs. $1,200 for free.
Wow.
Just because you were referred from this fine program, and he's also predicting the Cardinals to win 12 games this year. We love our guy, Coach Starks, and am I allowed to say I'm going to see Coach Starks? So what was it? A week from yesterday. So this upcoming Thursday, I can't wait to see Coach Starks. Got a little event planned.
Nice. Perfect. We love Coach Stark, and he helps Johnny, and he's going to help Damon get into his new doghouse. I'm sure soon. We want to help out Coach Stark with his business. If he ever needs to hire, he's going to suggest use Indeed. We love Indeed. It's the number one matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data. Couple of things I love about Indeed is it makes hiring all in one place easy, because they're going to take all the heavy lifting out of it. They're going to leverage 140 million qualified and qualifications and preferences every day. And Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning. The AI on it's unbelievable. Your preferences, so you can use Indeed, and the more you use it, the better it gets. More it fine tunes things and tailor fits it to what your company is looking for and the type of candidates it needs to bring in and reach out to. So right now, listeners of PHNX Cardinals need to go out to Indeed.com/AllCity, and they're going to get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility on Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now. Support our show by saying that you heard about it on PHNX Cardinals. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. You need a hire for your company? You need Indeed.
Indeed, you do. Another super chat here, $20 from our dear friend, the Ghost of Pat Tilley. Trust in Monty. Our BJ and DR turf related. Turf was a mess in the Super Bowl too. So he's asking, were the injuries to BJ Ojulari and Darius Robinson, if you know, Bo, if you don't know, where is turf related?
I mean, BJ Ojulari, like I posted the video from the rep practice back in training camp, and that was in front of there was a crowd watching as well. And he just kind of gets pushed aside a little bit by Jonah Williams. The contact had nothing to do with it. It just was a non-contact injury. That was the only thing that really resembled a non-contact injury throughout camp. And, I can't say it was.
I mean, the Cardinals last year, the Cardinals last year were a healthy team in the preseason. I think as much crap as they take, especially if we go back to where they trained for camp at Glendale at State Farm Stadium, and you got the Mike Florios complaining about what it looks like aesthetically on the broadcast. I mean, there weren't really any injuries, I think, in the preseason opener, their lone home game for the preseason. And there was, the biggie with the Ojulari, but that was it during camp. You got to give credit to the groundskeepers there that it held up very well, and they had, very few incidents. Absolutely. And again, like, hopefully Darius is back before you know it. And he gets right with his medical team. All right. So we do have a game to play this weekend. Zach Wilson, according to Adam Schefter, Bo, is going to play the majority of the game. Bo Nix is the starter. So we all get to watch our eyes bleed. Zach Wilson.
Bo show.
Yeah. No Bo Nix. So good luck to Bo Nix in the AFC West this year against the Chiefs and Jim Harbaugh and company. That'll be
so. Is Jared? So that just shows it's Jared Stidham's the backup, and then Zach Wilson's either going to be cut or rostered as the third quarterback.
Trade bait. Bronco fans think you might get a mid-rounder for him if he plays well on Sunday.
Second overall pick on his rookie contract is going to start the majority or play the majority. He's not starting because Stidham is. He's going to play the majority of the last preseason game. That's crazy.
Stidham's starting, but yeah, Wilson, he needs the reps. According to Sean Payton, we get him more exposure to the offense. So you get to stomach that. Hopefully the Cardinal defense, whomever's out there, is going to hold their own. And then offensively, once again, this is reported by Rap Sheet, Clayton Tune's going to start for the Cardinals the second week in a row. Desmond Ridder, mop-up duty. You would assume they're going to split halves again. And again, now this news with Darius, this news with Zay Jones, gives some younger guys a chance to shine. They added a bunch of USFL players this week. They added some street free agents, presumably give them an opportunity to go out and put some tape together for the rest of the NFL. But, I mean, what are you watching for this weekend ahead of Sunday, Bo?
Yeah, you're looking for some guys to really lock down those depth spots on this team. Like, is there going to be second teamers out there, guys who are going to be high volume snap backups? I think that you'll see maybe a few of those sprinkled in, but mostly guys that are going to fill out the 53, guys that are going to get, most of their roles role is going to be on special teams, this new kickoff format and punt, kick, return and punt. What am I thinking about? Punt, return, and of course, be the team, punting the ball away.
Yeah.
Struggle through that. So look, I mean, it's Is it the most exciting thing? Are you going to get to see, a lot of great football on display? Probably not. But are you going to see some guys that have put, great effort throughout OTAs and the training camp and the preseason kind of get to finish it off? I think so.
Let's take a look at some notables this week, Bo. Damon, Dawg, do we have who's got the most on the line this week? Prove it deals. Prove it most to gain. How about this against the Broncos? I think Clayton Tune has a chance to continue to help himself. I don't think anything Clayton does this weekend, though, Bo, would behoove the Cardinals from ignoring like a notable veteran that was cut. We saw the Bengals already make some releases today. But I think Clayton Tune what he can do is he can really stiff arm Desmond Ridder to the turf. He can basically say, like, as far as this roster is constructed currently, I'm the second best quarterback here until somebody else is brought in.
Yeah, like as far as let's continue the work that we put in dating back to this organization using a 5th round pick on him and just the belief that he could be, a backup for this in the NFL for 10 years. Let's just continue that journey here. And if he comes out, and I think if he plays like he has the previous 2 preseason games, which haven't been perfect by any stretch, but they've been an improvement from what we've seen previous from Clayton Tune. I think that he can lock in a roster spot. And then if they want to try to tweak things, and if they see somebody maybe with a higher floor or maybe a higher ceiling that becomes available between now and when the rest of the teams and the Cardinals cut from 90 to 53, you still need somebody with some experience in this system. So I think Clayton Tune with a good performance can lock all that up come Sunday.
Amari DiMercato battling with the likes of Michael Carter Jr. DiMercato was okay last week, had missed time with a shoulder injury himself. You look at the landscape of this running back group, you figure DJ Dallas is probably safe. Of course, Trey Benson and James Conner, now with this situation at receiver, like maybe they'd be less likely to keep 4 backs. I don't think it's realistic to keep 5. DiMercato, I think needs a good outing Sunday. I think he needs to be undeniable because we know what Michael Carter brings to the table. Savviness, veteran, resume experience, was ahead of DiMercato last year. I don't care what that depth chart says. Like, I think everybody in this fan base is going to be dejected, respectfully, DiMercato, if he makes this team over Michael Carter. Now, if there's a scenario where both make it, awesome. But, for DiMercato, like to be the primary backup behind James Conner that's Trey Benson right now. But the change of pace back, the back that you can say, go out and catch a pass, be shifty in the open field. Like, I think Trey Benson can eventually do that. But you can't tell me like DJ Dallas does that better than Michael Carter, DiMercato. I mean, go watch last year. The Cardinals were down 21-3 against the Eagles. What sparked them? That the drive that they came back and Kyler Murray had a touchdown pass. Who was it to? It was to Michael Carter. Breaking ankles in the open field. He's a tremendous pass catcher. That wasn't DiMercato. I'm sorry. So I'm rooting for the kid, but I'm not rooting for him over Michael Carter. From what I've seen, it's a production business, Bo.
Yeah, and like you've seen what you wanted to from pass pro, right? On third down. You've seen, he can handle a spot on special teams. Now you need to see if he can make and get big chunk yards in the run game. And I think that hopefully he gets the opportunity this upcoming Sunday. I think he will to maybe show that he can be that back. But, as far as what we outline, as far as the different roles in the running back room, I just don't see anything where outside of third downs, that he is a better option than the guys that they already have on the roster and don't have maybe some of the tools that Carter has that has already proven he can make big plays in the run game. So I think he's really the guy on this list that even with a good performance, like you can come Monday or Tuesday, they're still could be looking for work or making his way onto the practice squad.
Speaking of looking for work, this pass rush group, I think, is ever changing. Monday could be different from Tuesday, could be different, frankly, from waiver claims on Wednesday. Jesse Luketa, who was the highest graded defender last week against the Colts, has a chance, I think, to reemerge as the option ahead of Dumakaji. who played offense last year. They love his versatility. He's a great person, great human being. But right now, he's probably at best 5th on the depth chart. And again, if the Cardinals opt to go outside the organization, I think he and Victor Dimukeje are the first to go. I think Cameron Thomas, Xavier Thomas are both the 2 Thomas guys, are behind Dennis Gardeck and Xavier Collins. So then it's just like, how else can they fill out that room? Position versatility. Here's the thing. If you get rid of Gardeck and Lucetta, then Cameron Thomas and Xavier Thomas have to play special teams because the guys you're bringing in as pass rushers are probably only here to do a pass rush job. So that has to be taken into account. I'm not naive to that, but Dennis Gardeck can play special teams too. So this position group is an interesting dynamic because it has the most opportunity, in my opinion, for substantial changes. It could be the quarterback room of last year, where it's like one day it's Colt McCoy and Clayton Tune. The next day it's Josh Dobbs leading the charge and McCoy's off the team. I wonder if something like that, a remake is coming. A minor remake, but a remake nonetheless.
Yeah. But if you look at Lucetta and Dimukeje, and if you're trying to kind of figure out who makes the team, I think from the pure pass rush standpoint, I've actually liked what I've seen from Lucetta.
Absolutely.
The strip sack, and then obviously the versatility. I kind of jokingly was asking him today because he was available. No fullback this year. He's like, hey, don't rule that out just yet. But like he's willing to do whatever this team asks of him. And I think, I don't think that gives him like this incredibly large edge, but it helps make his case.
Well, we know, like Gannon's a fan of these guys, and there's a reason. Kudos to they could have been cut in a second last offseason. If they didn't fit, you could cut Dennis Gardeck and Victor Dimukeje overnight, and it wouldn't make a difference in terms of dead money or anything like that. But these guys stuck around. So, I joke around on this show, and I'm hard on this group. That's not an indictment of these guys as people. I just look at this pass rush group, and I am just severely underwhelmed with what's remaining.
So you're looking at potentially cast off from other teams to potentially fill out the back of that.
I'll make a prediction right now. I have no sourcing on this, and we're gonna work the phones tirelessly like we always do over the next 4 to 5 days. I think Ossenfort makes a trade. If it's not for a Reddick, which that situation's a hot mess still, I think Ossenfort trades a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick for a player that's maybe a cap casualty or somebody that's just fallen out of favor, like we saw today with Chicago and Seattle, maybe not a scheme fit, and they add a pass rusher to come in to add to this group that otherwise would not make it to them based on waiver claims, that they'd be concerned about making it to the Cardinals. I will go on the record and say I think they do something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of more in line with what I would expect, like a late day 3 pick, conditional pick, somebody that they like on tape, but is he going to come in immediately and get double-digit sacks and be that solution? I mean, he can be part of the solution, but not the main, pass rush artist, sack artist that they're looking for.
Like if you don't think, and I can't remember who's their director of pro scouting. They've got college scouts and then they've got pro scouts that watch everybody else. If you don't think they don't have a big board of about 5 to 10 guys who might be fringe players, might be guys that are not valued, that they're keeping track of and keeping tabs of. It's the way they found Elijah Higgins last year. It's the way they found Starling Thomas last year. So go out. But in my opinion, it can't be a young player like that. You need somebody of note, experience, that for whatever reason has fallen out of favor. And it always happens. There could be an option for the Cardinals. I'll be disappointed, and I love Ossenfort, if we're sitting here Tuesday or Wednesday and they haven't done anything. I think
how many new players do you think they'll have?
What's that?
What do you think? What's the over-under on new players next week?
Last year felt like half the roster, but
right.
But
they only had the benefit of one draft class and some undrafted free agents, and then they were able to kind of go tweak a little bit. They were get some guys that maybe they identified during a draft process that they brought in.
I'm going to give you 3 to 4 position groups I think they could add to. You ready?
Okay.
Quarterback, a QB2. I think if the right veteran offensive lineman becomes available. Maybe a swing tackle. I could see a offensive lineman. I don't think you could ever count that out. A guy that guy was in Tennessee. That guy's got ties to New England. Let's bring him in. Let's help out the Christian Jones of the world. Maybe he makes it to the practice squad. There's the other position group. Pass rusher and then cornerback. I said this in our audio only with Craig. I think if there's a veteran corner that makes sense, that's 27, 28, 29. So I love these young corners. Outside of Sean Murphy-Bunting, they have no experience. Save for a rookie year, complete roster teardown, Starling Thomas and Keitrell Clark. But that's not the experience I'm talking about. I'm talking about years in the NFL, multiple coordinators, defensive playbooks. Outside of Sean, like I love Garrett Williams and Max Melton. They haven't played in the NFL a full season. So corner, pass rusher, offensive line, QB. So I'll go 4 new players.
I think 2.5 is a good over-under.
Sure. You know what? The bet 365 total. I was going to say 3.5. What are you going with? So you're going over, Johnny.
I'll go under.
I like having fun.
Under.
I'm a fun guy. I want a little cash.
So you're teasing it down to 2.5. You're going up. Are you going over 2.5?
Yes.
You're right at 3.
But that one, but I think 2.5 is a good line because I don't know which way I'd go on that. 3.5, I'll say under.
Whatever's gonna, you know how it goes. The books, they just want to get the most action.
Chat,
so
tell us.
2.5 is gonna get it.
Tell us, chat. Oh, we're gonna set the line at 3.5 or 2.5.
We'll set it at 2.5. We'll go with Damon Dawg. He's more of the.
I feel really confident on the over for 2.5. 3 new players? Come on.
3 new. So okay. So you said a corner, an offensive lineman, and a quarterback. So Ridder's gone.
And a pass rusher.
So Ridder's gone.
Ridder's gone. That's easy.
Who are you cutting from the cornerback room?
I would think of that group, probably Keitrell Clark.
Okay. So they would identify somebody off the street, but they've been scouting.
Yeah.
That they like better than somebody who's been in their system since being drafted in 2023.
Because they have youth now and athleticism. They need maybe a little experience. Starling Thomas has leapfrogged Keitrell Clark. And here's another factor. Keitrell Clark missed time this training camp. Sean Murphy-Bunting has missed time. Garrett Williams missed time last year because of injury. Max Melton's missed time. They've all missed time. And if you're going to just put the hierarchy in place, Clark to me, and I'm not rooting for him not to make the team. I just feel like if there's a veteran, it'd have to be the right veteran though.
Yeah.
Edge rush easy. They could have 2 edge rushers.
It was 6 last year, but they were able to go out and put brand new players. They were weeding out the old players and there was space for them. Now with the infusion of, they had 13 first-year players on their roster at the end of the season last year.
Yeah.
And then they added 15 players between the 12 draft picks and then 3 undrafted guys that they brought in. I mean, that's close to 30 roster spots that they like those guys that they brought in on their own. So are they going to like guys that they potentially missed out probably at the back end of the draft or undrafted guys that couldn't find roster spots on other teams? I just think it's a little bit more of a competitive roster.
I think so too. That's why I set the over under where I did, because 6 last year with a bare bones XFL roster. Yeah, I think half of that makes sense to me.
You bring in a 6th round pick, you were limited to what was it, 9 draft picks last year. It's like, well, here's adding another draft pick.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about, hey, they're going to cut their own to add late round picks that were with another team in the spring. I'm talking about like veterans to help the team now. Guys that can stabilize position units, that can be an extension of the coaching staff at specific places on the team, strategically placed. A QB2 behind Kyler Murray that they thought Desmond Ridder could be, right? Got something in my eye. And then a veteran cornerback.
About it?
Yeah, I am. Damon, can we get a full screen graphic so I can fix my contact? Most to gain here.
Tune, Dermicado, Lucetta. And look, I think you can throw along with Lucetta, do McKagy. both beloved by this coaching staff, the defensive coaches. And then like Dermicado, who's been talked very highly of throughout this training camp. And obviously you love the story, right? And then, I think Tune is one of those guys that's in the driver's seat here. And, he could certainly lose it. I think you could go into Denver and play poorly enough to where you lose a little bit of your grasp and getting tantalized by, some outgoing quarterbacks on some other rosters could force the Cardinals' hand. But those are who we're looking at. But it doesn't, it doesn't end there, obviously. And we break down, who we've identified as kind of bubble players with Craig and that little exercise we did that will be available to people on YouTube tomorrow. And just keep in mind that it was before the Zay Jones news. It was before, Gannon gave us the Darius Robinson update.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Again, who's the ride or die for this team this weekend? Speaking of ride or die, we're going to hear who's riding and dying with K1 this year. I think you're going to like who it is. But before we tell you that, I'm going to tell you about my friends, my ultimate Game Time ticketing app, ride or die. Our friends at Game Time are looking to hook you up with the NFL season right around the corner. Week 0 of college football is basically here. We're looking to save you money. So are our friends at Game Time. Bonus code PHNX, $20 off, 50% off. How about this? Tickets for Dodgers at D-backs on Labor Day, exclusively at Game Time. Now, there's limited availability quantity, but go out and get yourself some, what I think, pre-playoff tickets, because I think we're going to see Dodgers D-backs in the postseason. It's going to be electric. Get those tickets right now, 50% off. Diamondbacks, Dodgers. Details are in the description. GameTime.co online, not com. GameTime.co is where you want to be. You also want to download the app wherever you get your apps, on your mobile device, your smartphone. I love looking at Game Time on my desktop computer, and I look at the entire landscape of seating charts. I've been working with my family. They're coming for the Bears game in early November. Best prices, best seating charts, best deals. They've got their flash deals, parking passes, events, comedy shows. We're about to enter one of my favorite time of year, not just because of football, but like fall festivals. They've got country music. They've got live music. I mean, it is your premier ticketing app. Like, it's not hyperbole to say I check this app multiple times a week. I'm just like, what's happening in my community? That's why I love living here in Phoenix, Bo.
Where's the local pumpkin patch at? Where's I got to get some.
Like, you're being disingenuous. That's literally me. I literally do that, by the way. And again, like, pumpkin patch or not, $20 off, bonus code PHNX right now. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Damon and Bo, not you, Bo. Game Time.
Game Time, baby. Game Time. You love it. Johnny is this is his season. If you didn't know, he's the Wing King. He's also the Pumpkin King. He's the Pumpkin King.
I'm probably more the Pumpkin King than I am the Wing King.
Yeah, you own it. I remember this year or last year for the fantasy football draft. I rolled up to your house and you guys had pumpkins already out, already strewn about.
Sorry, it's boring, but it's part of our life. And now I can
tell you something that's not boring. And you talk about the fall season, you get outside, enjoy nature a little bit more adventuring, and why not do it equipped with our Rugged Road coolers? These are unbelievable, innovative. What's going on over at Rugged Road? They got the ultralight high performance coolers. I mean, you can just throw these things around easily like you're in the strongest man competition, but it ain't weighing you down that much. And also the cool thing about them is that they float upright. Like if Damon's going to go hit it, the Salt River with the fellas, going to just float down, doesn't even need a tube or anything, just needs a Rugged Road cooler. Keep his drinks ice cold. It can hold ice up to 7 days. It will stay frozen. It's unreal what's going on with Rugged Road.
You might not even grab a tube. Might just hold onto the side of it on one of these nice handles and just let it take me down the river. Get yourself an
oar, and yeah, there you go. Or you just float. Enjoy yourself. Rugged Road. Check them out, ruggedroadoutdoors.com. Say goodbye to those bulky, heavy coolers that waste storage space. You're going to throw your back out trying to pick them up. No, Rugged Road. They're ultra light. They're going to get you in a position to enjoy every adventure. It's engineered specifically for that. Right now, check it out for yourself. Get ready for your fall adventures with Rugged Road coolers. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com. Use the code Yeah, you guessed it. PHNX for 10% off your order. Lightweight, durable, always floating upright, perfect for land or water. Leave the old heavy cooler at home. Get yourself a better cooler for the new season. Rugged Road, your ultimate outdoor companion. I just find myself, I'll be making an online purchase and it says promo code. And I'll just put PHNX in every single. It doesn't matter what website I'm on. I'm just gonna say, hey, are we partnered with these guys? Let's see if I can save myself some money.
We should be.
Odds are it's usually gonna save you money.
Owen saying I've got a pumpkin growing in my garden. Love that, Owen. We've got pumpkin spice latte Venerable, or asking if I'm a cold brew pumpkin guy. The answer is all of the above. I will probably go more with the cold brew because it's so hot here.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the mood for a hot drink, then pumpkin spice.
Have you dabbled? Have you already partaken?
It's been live for what, 2 days, I think? Didn't it kick off like midweek this week? I have
Pumpkin
not.
Spice?
Yeah. But I've had pumpkin coffee in my house for the better part of a month that I make in the morning. My wife hates it. She doesn't like it. She gets upset.
She doesn't like that you're brand loyal?
Yeah. She doesn't like my lower body or my pumpkin spice. That's the deal right now. So I need to take my wins when I can get them. Kyler Murray going to win some games this year. Well, what about fantasy games? So every year, Matthew Berry of NBC Sports,
friend of the program.
Yeah, he is. He's a great guy. Chatted with him at the combine this year. He basically every year comes out and says he's got a bunch of players he calls his ride or dies. And he says, like, he gets the ultimate ride or die. If he could pick one player this year that's going to produce from a fantasy perspective, it's going to be Kyler Murray. He unveiled it yesterday. He said Murray is leaps and bounds ahead of where he was this time last year, both physically and mentally. Again, he was top 10 last year on a brutal team with a significant lack of offensive weapons. He would go on to say, highlighting the fact he's got Marvin Harrison Jr., that when he's healthy, he's a top 10 fantasy quarterback historically. And he has him as his QB5 in fantasy this year. And while that may not specifically lead to wins, Brock, if you could say, hey, I've got the number one fantasy wide receiver, could be on a bad team, right? Number one fantasy back. But when you're talking about, hey, this quarterback is going to give you top 5 production this year, like wins are going to come. Save for like when Justin Fields was basically a running back 2 years ago and the Bears were not good. Like outside of that, it's usually quarterback is playing top 5 football. That team is very competitive. So I think even though this is a fantasy blurb, you can take 2 things out of it. Number one, Matthew Berry does his homework. We know he studies it for a living and he's giving advice sometimes behind a paywall, right? So it's like, okay, I'm perking up when I hear this. And number 2, it's for Kyler Murray. This is his breakout year. We've been predicting it this offseason. All this stuff about injuries and pass rush and whatever. I don't want to say it doesn't matter. If Kyler Murray goes out and plays top 5 quarterback this year, then it's everything else is going to take care of itself.
Right. Yeah. He says he's going top 10. He's going 10th in ESPN leagues, 8th in Yahoo.
Yeah.
But he's been a top 5 quarterback in points per game since he entered the league in 2019. Is that good? Averaging 20 points per game his entire career. He was 6 of 7 games, or 6 of his 8 games last year, over 17 points. So he's getting right into it. I found this little tidbit interesting. Last season, he had 30% of the team's carries at the goal line. So and that showed up early. Like they really kind of in the red zone and closer to the goal line, inside the top 10. Drew Petzing dialed up some design runs for Kyler Murray. 30% of the carries though went to Kyler. So that's encouraging to hear. And that was coming off of his knee injury.
Yeah. And it should be noted. So he did a complete ride or die, and he always does players I love and players I hate. And he did it for the entire season.
Oh, I used to love the love-hate on ESPN.
It was great. Players he loved.
I would scroll down. It was like a recipe. Like I'd be like, okay, Matthew, like let's get to brass tacks.
Get to the goods.
Yeah.
He loves Trey McBride and he loves Greg Dortch. He doesn't hate any Cardinal. Oh, and he loves James Conner. So he basically loves Kyler Murray in the supporting cast. He actually hates CJ Stroud. He's got a bunch of metrics to support that. So, and I think Stroud's going to be good, but just like a regression year of sorts. So this Cardinal team, like completely under the radar. We know it's been disrespected. No one does their homework. And then a guy does his homework and it's like, hey, these are metrics to support Kyler Murray being good this year and Trey McBride being a top 3 tight end in the NFL, even though ESPN said he's not a top 10 tight end. And Dan Orlovsky said Kyler Murray's not a top 10 or top 8 running quarterback in the NFL. I mean, it's just like, that's why in lieu of these suspensions and injuries, it's just like, just start the season already.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray can't start the season fast enough.
Dan Orlovsky's ripping farts on camera, which provide more insight than his quarterback rushing rankings. I have Joe Burrow ahead of him. It's just bad.
Joe Burrow, who literally can't move.
Yeah.
He literally has been injured every year and he can't move. It's like, yeah, he's a sneaky good runner. What the hell are you talking about?
Right.
So yeah, interesting nonetheless. That's what I was hoping we could lead the show with, as I was, roaming the Twitter streets yesterday.
Breaking news. Too much breaking news. Yeah.
So what do you make at the end of this preseason for the Arizona Cardinals? Like, has anything stood out to you in terms of something that has made it abundantly clear that you didn't know otherwise before the preseason started?
Before the preseason? Yeah, I think that they have an idea of who their main guys are going to be, and the ones you haven't seen are those guys, right? I mean, we haven't seen anybody that for an extended period of time, besides like the teeniest little sample size, that they're going to really expect big time snaps from this season. Like they didn't see the entire starting offense, Johnny. The entire starting offense hasn't made a single appearance this entire preseason. So like it's locked and ready to go. Like we talked to Yeller Frohold after he was extended, earlier this week, and he gave us some insight as far as the offense and like would they have benefited from at least playing, a series or two this preseason. Is like, well, you're still going to face the reality of you're going to have to go out there and some things that you think are going to work aren't going to work, and some things that you thought were going to work are going to really work. You have to be adaptable, and they're going in with that kind of open-mindedness, but also with a game plan that I think that they're really confident and have a ton of conviction in.
My takeaway on top of what you just said is the fact that I think Taylor Demerson and Xavier Thomas look like real contributors for this team. But Taylor Demerson was not on my radar at all this year because of the depth at safety and the fact that, that was a day 3 pick. It was early, and give the kid credit. He's forced the issue now, and he's on everybody's radar now, including the highest graded day 3 player from the draft, according to PFF. And then, could Xavier Thomas make it a hat trick this weekend? 3 sacks in 3 games. We will find out. How about a hat trick of super chats left? Fishbowl Flash, $5. With the lack of offseason moves, trades, free agents, lack of proven talent, and injuries on defense, does anyone feel a 4-13 season upcoming? Hashtag Tank Tuesdays. Here's why I don't think that, because of the quarterback play. The roster can be flawed. It can have holes here and there. That's the NFL. Rarely do you get a team like the Niners that, seemingly have all pros everywhere. Kyler Murray came back and carried this team to what should have been a 500 record with a far worse roster, with a tougher schedule, in my opinion. So as long as we're not opening the show, knock on wood, talking about K1 not available, they got to shout every Sunday, Fishbowl Flash. If you believe in Kyler Murray, which we happen to.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we saw this defense. This defense has improved its personnel from last season. And last season that they did show not enough consistently, but did show flashes of an ability to either A, force a turnover, or B, get off the field and force a punt. And I think that you'll continue to see that. Like, they're well coached. I think they've got, some really, really incredible defensive minds, including Jonathan Gannon, who was the DC for the Eagles team that had over 70 sacks, 17 picks in that run to the Super Bowl. So they're well coached. They're young. There's no proven commodities in there. And yeah, they're down one of their biggest, somebody they were going to rely upon. But, with that, like, I also know that they know what their identity is. They know where their strength is. And I think it's on the offensive side of the football, and that can help all different areas of your team. And if they can, Kyler Murray and that offense can go out and hold sustained drives and get points. That puts pressure on opposing offenses where maybe, an undermanned defense could get off the field because of a team pressing to keep pace with Kyler Murray in this offense.
Everybody do us a favor. Like this video. You guys have been crushing it with the likes lately. It really helps us out. Push this around the YouTube algorithm. Always goes into the, hey, you may like recommended videos. 300 is the goal today on a Football Friday. Baharo 3, friend of the program, $2 super chat. It's a big deal until Michael Wilson can prove good health. I'm assuming this is regard to the Zay Jones injury, or the suspension, I should say. 100%. But Michael Wilson was healthy most of last year and then kind of hit a wall. He admitted this with some injuries in November, and was also, and I give him credit, juggling multiple quarterbacks: Colt McCoy, Clayton Tune, Joshua Dobbs, Kyler Murray. Like, let's see what he does with K1 for an entire season. But we asked Michael during our draft coverage at Gila River, Wild Horse Pass, like, put a bar on your statistics. He's like, I got to just worry about getting on the field, and that'll take care of itself. But you're right to think that that's probably a big reason why they signed Zay Jones.
But I also think physically, he's probably never been in a better spot than he is right now.
You would hope so, yeah.
When you look at his injuries, and there were a bunch of them in college, but for the most part, breaks, right? Wasn't a collarbone.
Yep.
It wasn't anything really to do with any of the ligaments. Last year, shoulder, the neck. He's going into, basically, he didn't have an off season last year. He went from playing at Stanford, tried to work his way back to get ready for the Senior Bowl, to the pre-draft process, the combine, to rookie mini camp, to OTAs, to the training camp, to preseason, and that, we talk about the rookie wall, and I'm sure he was susceptible to that. But at the end of the season, he was coming out relatively healthy to where he could go in this offseason and just really work on his body. And I think
he's receiving yards in the finale.
Right. And I think he's in a pretty good spot, but Baharo's right. I mean, you're skeptical until he proves you otherwise. And I think that there's confidence that, he can do that.
AZ Moses 89, 499. Darius hurt. Zay suspended. Can we just get the start of the season before anything else bad happens? It's hard out here as a Cardinal fan. Absolutely. And the Zay suspension is just bizarre. And we don't really know the fault to that. And Gannon won't talk until post-game, Bo, on Sunday. And who knows if that's even the appropriate time to ask him. But, I mean, this team, they've got, I still think, a lot going on for him. And I'm not here being Johnny fanboy with the pom-poms, but we will see Darius at some point. And then Kyler Murray is fully healthy. There were times last year where they just had no shot to compete on Sundays. They're going to be in every game. They're going to be competitive. They're going to win games they're not supposed to. This team is still primed for a big year. And I do think, though, that this general manager has a unique opportunity within the next 4 days to really, and I'm not putting these expectations on him, but this goes without saying. And you mentioned it earlier, galvanize the fan base, just ramp people up with a notable addition. And people will sit back and say, oh shit, the Cardinals got so-and-so. Okay. What's that going to mean for week 1? We got 2 weeks to implement that person defensively. Like, Ossenfort has not done that yet. That's not his MO, but it feels like for this team right now, to AZ Moses' point, that's just like, get us to the regular season, please. Yeah. Come out, Ossenfort, open up the checkbook, open up the draft picks, maybe the day 3 draft picks, and push this team to the finish line of training camp. Because again, let's get people fired up to come to State Farm Stadium week 2.
Schaff asking if we're going to be having a halftime show on Sunday. We are, right?
We're going to go live, I think, in the 4th quarter. But yeah, we're still having a halftime show. Our coverage is going to be a little unique because this game is going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge. We're going to do halftime coverage, and then we will probably go live at the start of the 4th quarter. Yeah. So yeah, we will be around.
When Desmond Ridder is running offense, and it's there's not much going.
Let's not put that hate on. We're trading Desmond Ridder straight up for Haason Reddick, I heard. That's what's happening. I wouldn't trade anything for the number 18 collection right now, though. But we're being real. Shop the number 18 collection right now. Go phnx.com. The math tee. I mean, it's just like we look at this gear and it's like it's awesome, and yet like I can't wait to see a certain number 18 receiver dominate State Farm Stadium. Can't get his jersey yet. I mean, this still feels like the honeymoon period post draft for your boys. But pretty soon as you're gonna be repping this gear, hopefully at State Farm Stadium, repping PHNX Cardinals, and then you're gonna be seeing the 1 + 18 = 6. Like there's gonna be a time when that you're wearing this gear and number 18 finds the end zone, and it's gonna be you're gonna say, I remember when that happened. You're gonna be telling your kids and your grandkids about that.
People are going to be seeking out those, representing at State Farm Stadium, and there's only going to be a few if you obviously indulge into the 18 collection. So MHJ Maserati Marv 1 + 18 = 6. Also, big news came across the desk today, Johnny. As far as our tailgates that are going to be going down at Chicken and Pickle, I don't even know if I'm allowed to reveal this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay, well.
Each tailgate, we're going to be giving away. We don't need anything on this. You're going to put the link in the chat. Good idea. We're giving away a Pit Boss grill.
What?
You show up to our tailgate. That's all you have to do, and you can win yourself a Pit Boss grill. And like, even if our tailgates get out of control, there's maybe couple hundred people. Like, that's still pretty good odds. You're gonna get your name drawn, and you're gonna win a free Pit Boss grill.
That's better than my little Foreman grill I'm using in my backyard.
Way better, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm doing this.
Don't compare the two.
This is one of those times where I'm jealous that I work for this company, because I'm like, I want a damn Pit Boss grill. Why can't I get involved?
I see what you've done for others, the football gods. I want that for me. That's what I want.
Damon's going to be showing up with a fake mustache.
Saul Bookman legitimately has.
He's gonna go off one of his aliases. He's gonna be, hey, Schleimenschlag, how are you?
Damon Cat showing up with a fake mustache.
It's gonna be Saul Bookman in a hat and glasses, and he's just gonna be like, isn't that your GM? He's gonna be like, nope, this is mine. Walk away with it. Add to his 20 grills he's got. But Pit Boss, you talk about the elite of the elite. That's when I think the blue chippers of grills. That's what I think of.
Yeah. Got was it Pit Boss, not Brand Boss? No, it's an actual reputable company, not Brand Boss.
That's a perfect comment. Would you welcome Steve Keim at one of our tailgates?
Sure, if he wants to come get a Pit Boss, we'll come on down.
What if Keim won the grill and he just went up there nonchalant and be like, this is mine, I'm taking this? Okay, so
look, if he wants to be a listener of this podcast, if he wants to come to the tailgates, it's all great. It's just as long as he stays the F away from this team.
The draft picks. Steve, you can have a grill. Stay away from the first rounders.
Yeah.
Everybody,
actually, if Steve Keim did win a Pit Boss grill, I think we do have what his reaction would look like. Damon, do we have that? Steve Keim winning a Pit Boss grill. There it is. It's excited. Look at just the joy on his face.
I hate that we still have this picture. Can we scrub this, please? This is a happy show. No, I'm not into that.
Have you ever seen anybody happier than that?
I'd be happy if everybody likes this video. It would be great. And then drop a comment in the actual comments down below of who you think the Arizona Cardinals need to go after before the end of the waiver claim period come Tuesday night, and leave us a like. Show a little bit of class. Leave us a like. I'm going to tell you right now, go to your smartphone, mobile device, open up your podcast feed. We're dropping audio-only goodies that you can't find anywhere else. We've had a banner off season. I think we actually kind of put the off season to bed after Sunday. So this is it for your boys. We can put the off season to rest, and we can get ready for the regular season.
What a journey.
It was I'm emotional.
Was it? I mean, I know we'll have some more time to revisit it, but it's like friends became enemies, enemies became friends.
We made more enemies. We make a lot of enemies on this show. Public enemies. Our team grew. Our friendship I would say did not grow. It's about the same as it was before.
Okay.
It's like the Odyssey. It's the modern day Odyssey.
Yeah.
And this is the best community, hands down, in the NFL, in ALLCITY. And we appreciate all of you. And man, oh man, do we got some fun stuff planned for the regular season that we think you guys are really going to dig. Tribe 7 even. What do you think of trading for Marshon Lattimore? I think, if is he going to be cut? Are they like his money's a little nuts? I think that's a move that probably would have had to have been done in free agency, Bo.
A veteran cornerback, but I think you have one of those. Sean Murphy-Bunting returned to practice today. I don't know if you want to block any of these young corners from immediately getting playing time and developing as quickly as possible, because in the long run, I think that's going to serve you better than taking on Lattimore for a season or two.
This team's going to be better than people think. They're going to win games this year, and we're going to be here.
Good question, by the way.
Yeah, it is a good question. I'm excited. We'll have full coverage of Cut Down Week next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And, of course, the coup de grace, the preseason finale, Sunday afternoon. Spin it with your boys, Johnny, Bo, Damon, Dawg. Halftime, post-game, kind of fourth quarter show. And if you don't know, ring that bell for notifications. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Damon, Dawg, Bo, Brack. I'm Johnny Venerable. We're back on a football Sunday. Everybody be well.
We all silly like the mayor.